right, it is currently 6:45 p.m. and I remain at the same location present this morning at 8 o'clock, which is a matter of video evidence, not a matter of hearsay, not a matter of, even my previously documented evidence. It's a pattern of conduct and it's relevant to the environment. So I can absolutely, and that's what I do, I can use the sunrise documented in 2024 on this same day. I can use the sunset from last night. I can use my evidence that I captured last week at the same place, at a different place at the same time, when I'm showing you juxtaposing evidence regarding what is absolutely not the natural environment. And where the fake sun, by definition, necessarily scientific evidence that the sun would not be at the same address, 215 EC Street. And don't forget that Paul Leon, the Ontario City Hall, is right here. It's legally relevant where I'm at because it's letting you know about what the government is. And the government are filled with a bunch of cult members, all right? And they're stalkers and they're psychotic, because this is no ordinary stalking. The evidence of the fake sun, which is at 6:45 p.m., still at the same address that it was during the 8 a.m. hour, where the entity was stalking me, and by definition, judicially noticed fact, there is no reasonable question. This is beyond what is the prima facie case, where federal courts are going to provide justice to American citizens who are kept under surveillance by the U.S. military, who are engaging in terrorism with the people of the state. This is a federal offense for which the American people will recover. All right, it's criminal activity creation, it's criminal presence in the path, and they're doing with those that are over and under majority, and they are trained to engage in this is psychopathic. Okay, and it's supposed to present the illusion that someone else, the target individual that doesn't have evidence, is hallucinating, is paranoid, is bipolar, whatever, all of these means of defaming. You can all see that this is absolutely abnormal, and it's absolutely it's very real. You're not imagining it at all. That's Union Pacific that was on video earlier today. Union Pacific is getting all of that prosecution. That's what they're manifesting it, and you've got it. It's going to be prosecuted. And the people of the state are being prosecuted. That's how you know they're all stalking and monitoring, while you hear impossible audible activity. And it's also impossible where the entity is, by definition, by judicially noticed facts, that the sun is not at one address. Let's count together: 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 10 hours ago during the 8 a.m. hour. This is where the entity was stalking me in particular. Not only because they stalked me so heavily in helicopters, i.e. traditional stalking, is supported by my evidence. The entity is engaged in criminal monitoring, meaning psychologically torturing me and physically stalking me as an entity. Everybody else is stalking as well as an entity in this environment that defies science, logic, common sense and nature. All right, the entity is keeping this fake sun where they are stalking me in helicopters, and they're doing so also pursuant to my evidence that I published, pursuant to a First Amendment right, freedom of speech, and also what is an obligation to prosecute the government that has conspired my murder, and also facilitating that criminal act amongst a population who are the people of the state, and also engaging in that which is a matter of public corruption, that is serving the public good in order to expose it. Under all of those, and what is regarding sound public policy, no American citizen is violating the law when you are exposing the criminal, who always remains the government. You will never be able to ricochet that and boomerang that and try to deflect away from the criminal activity, the original criminal, the original wrongdoer, which is the state, the entity, the U.S. military, who are demons. And by the way, their secrets are they're homosexuals. This is engineer light, not sunlight. And the fake sun is over me right now in Upland, California, where they are stalking. Psychopathic pacing is what you're looking at regarding what is the prosecution of Cable Airport, what is the prosecution of the Ontario International Airport, where in two cities again, at the same time, for the duration of the day, my documentation is showing that this is an untenable position. And you know what else is untenable? That they're driving by, riding by, flying by, living by you, being around you, sitting around you, and that they don't know what's going on. That's also untenable. The entity will be prosecuted as a corrupt entity, even in their silence. They will be prosecuted on a strict liability basis. They are sharing in the criminal activity of the government, and where you live, regardless of your ever having a conversation with the proven targeted individual, it will be a means of prosecuting you specifically. Moreover, I just want to be clear, there are no victims here. These demons thought they had the perfect crime underway, all right, and they derived pleasure out of it. So now they are very much troubled, all right? The conundrum that there is no defense under the Constitution by merely claiming that you don't know the target individual. This is called a backfire, all right? And it is fully constitutional to prosecute the people of the state for the government's criminal pattern of conduct that they are not accidentally nor ignorantly sharing in. They are an entity, meaning they're faceless. So while a little boy that you don't know is crossing paths while I'm outside of your home under that fake sun, and I am being monitored by the U.S. military via you are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And while you have that on an ongoing basis, ceaselessly, there is no coincidence there. There is no coincidence. There's no ignorance there either. The gang stalkers are knowingly and intentionally gang stalking you. It is impossible that it would be anything other than that being the case. All right, this is P.O.C. This is relevant to the prosecution of the city of Ontario and the city of Upland. You know what that is? That's the state of California that's engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct. There was no sun in a natural environment, that is, in Florida, in any other state, let alone in any other county, let alone in any other location. Now, I did document as I walked to these fake churches today, that fake sun, but you're looking at the radius. You can look at Google Maps. I did not go beyond a mile today. I went to St. George Catholic Church. I went to Bethel Congregational, and I came right back to the library where the fake sun remained. And that is evidence of a fake sun speaking to an entity that is stalking me. And they do so in helicopters. And the entity that does that, in concert with the people of the state that do that, shall be criminally committed. Recall my video evidence that you saw this morning during the 8 a.m. hour, and you saw, just like you see in this video, very nonchalantly, with regard to expressing to the federal government, while you levy war in the United States, because that's what that is, levying war as an entity, as though there are no consequences. You saw a fat male do the same thing on his device, walk right by, engaging in this act of terrorism, because that was the P.O.C. That you're looking at that same pattern over and over again, and they are under what is the supernatural phenomenon. This is not in Upland, California, and it never went anywhere. This is not in another state. It's not in Los Angeles, and it's also under anything other than the prosecution of the entity. That's Upland, California gang stalking. That's everybody working in that library that's going to prison. That's the entity gang stalking as employees at OVITT Family Community Library. That's everybody at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles who's going to prison. That's the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. committing kidnappings. They're acting as one. They are not individuals with regard to the government's P.O.C. And that is where they have volunteered themselves for what is criminal activity that I unilaterally, through this evidence, have also accumulated. While they engage in that very conduct, that's the entity, not an individual. And that entity is engaging in criminal activity. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:52 p.m. at what is 15 East C Street, the same OVITT Family Community Library. And this is the prosecution. I have a body of evidence that extends years. But this is the prosecution based on what is evidence that you could use in one day to establish the P.O.C. But of course, I had to do that to establish that this is a real thing, that there's no exception, there's no anomaly here, it's no oversight. And the entity also being the government fully intends to defame and a target individual. My evidence is overwhelming. So there is no defamation that's going to be louder or superseding the P.O.C. And the entity that engaged in criminal defamation is the one that's being committed and is going to prison. This is P.O.C.